Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
I don't want to start now.
Start now.
I already started, and Stefan said, I haven't started recording yet.
Well,
I already
had to cough first, and you just like jumping into it. I'm like, well, give me 1 second to hit the button.
Welcome to What's on Tap podcast Christmas calendar, day 12.
Exactly. That's the kind of enthusiasm I want to hear.
It's the 12th day of Christmas, and my true love sent to me. I can't do the 12th. I don't know all of them. No, don't try.
We always have this conversation every year.
Don't even try.
I don't care. No, it's
5 gold rings.
There you go.
That's the one that sticks out.
So let's just tear this beer up and let's see what you think about this. I'm super excited to hear what you think about this beer.
Oh, you already know what it is?
I 100% know what this beer is.
Because it sticks out in shape or form or size. It is a Westvleteren 12.
It is.
And let's investigate the cap, because as everyone knows who listens to this, Westvleteren is this Belgian monastery that sells their beer only specific times.
You have to call and get a specific time and date to go pick up the beers from the monastery.
And they will register your car license plate at that moment, and that's the only car that can pick it up at that moment. And it has no label, so everything they need is on the
bottle cap. So they usually put
Oh no, it's so faint. There's 12? Is it that old?
Let's see.
It's that.
Yeah. So they print the bottle on the cap itself, and it can be it can be quite hard to read, and it can also be smudged. Which is what we have here.
What vintage do you think this is?
I think this is this year's vintage.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because I bought it off of a web shop this year, so I would guess this is this year's vintage.
So back in the day, like 10 years ago at least, the monks they forbade anyone from reselling this. So if you bought it, you had to sign a I can't say legal document because it wasn't legal. A document stating that you ever resold this, you would lose your soul. You were betting your soul on not reselling this. Then they had a fire on the monastery, and they realized we can either lose the monastery for all eternity, or we can just start selling the beer. And they sold it in 6-packs with the special glass. Or it was 2 glasses. And it was in this little cardboard container. It was really nice. Those ones had screen printed XII for 12.
Oh, wow, okay.
So those bottles were kind of special. And then after that, they were more lenient on anyone reselling it. Because keeping the monastery afloat
was more important.
Yeah. And I think that's a good choice. It was fun back then because they were so difficult to get.
Right. I mean, it was super. I remember the first time I had it, I was like, "Oh crap!" I was in Budapest, and they had it, and I found it in a really shitty beer bar. one of the sketchier beer bars I've been to in Europe, which is kind of the way you can describe a lot of beer bars in Budapest. But they had bottles of it. That you could purchase, and it was like, it was almost 20 euros a bottle. Yeah. And at that time, it was just like, I may not ever see this again. This is really awesome. And then within like 3 years, it was a regular release at web shops. Yeah. So you can find it pretty easily these days. But I think what gave Westvleteren its biggest boost was it was voted the best beer in the world. It was rare, and it was like the number 1 beer in the world for the longest time. Like you just could not get it anywhere.
It was eventually beaten by Swedish brewery Närke with their Kaggen Stormax Porter, which became the number 1, and then Westvleteren 12 was number 2. But for the longest time, this was number 1. I had this beer for the first time in 2009.
Yeah.
I lived at the student area in Lund, Sweden. The student area was called Vildanden, or like Wild Duck. and the pub was called Wildanden, Wild Duck Pub, and the owner was completely crazy. He had a bottle. He had like 300 different bottles of beers. If anyone came in and said, "I would like a Stor Stark," like I would like a generic draft, he would say, "You go, leave immediately." You would be kicked out of his bar.
This place is not for you. You must
Exactly.
leave now.
And he had Westvleteren 12. It was in the list. It was in the fridge. And I asked for it, and he said, "No, we don't have any." So I just drank other craft beer for weeks and months, and then I figured, let's ask him again. Can I get a Westvleteren 12? And he looked at me up and down, and he said, "Yes." So I felt like I had earned the privilege.
You had earned that beer.
He recognized me as someone who drank craft beers over a period of time, and I paid 30 euros for that bottle, and I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Of course,
those were the old ratings.
And that was the thing. Is like I remember the first time I had this, I was just like, best beer in the world. I can't wait to try it. And I tried it, and it was like, I mean, it's good.
I think it qualifies as a belgianquad, style-wise.
Yeah,
and so sweet and like these dried fruits.
I mean, it's a lot of sweetness, a lot of sugar coming off the nose,
a lot of yeast.
Yeah, a lot of Belgian yeast.
This style brings me back because when I started beer nerding 2007, you didn't get bourbon barrel aged imperial stout.
No.
So the most flavor you got was from Belgian quads.
Of course.
So it's my earliest favorite style.
Yeah, and I think this is another one that you need to let it breathe a little bit, because it kind of, once it aerates a little bit, you're getting a little more of the raisiny, you're getting a lot more prunes and notes coming from it.
But it's a very murky brown color.
Yeah.
With a nice head that kind of never goes away.
Nope. That's what you like to see, is that like long-lasting head retention. It looks great. So cheers. So I was super excited, because this is one of those that, like, we're never going to review this beer on the show, because it just doesn't really pair with anything else, and it's kind of a one-off, and it's kind of a weird beer to try. But I thought it's a perfect calendar beer, because you just need a one-off beer.
It's so fizzly, bubbly, effervescent. You feel in your mouth, it has so many micro bubbles to just go brrr. It's like champagne.
It just almost goes from a solid to a gas inside your mouth as you aerate. It's so much fun. I love like when beers do that.
And the aftertaste is so full of spices. And when I say spices, you know I don't mean like chili spice. I mean like cloves and...
old world spices, as they would call them.
Oh, right. It's old world spices.
Yes.
I think cloves might be the Swedish nejlika. Spice nejlika. Yeah. Because that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But those kind of spices, it is a lot of fun.
And it's another one you really kind of want to sip and enjoy and take your time with. And what's funny is any European you talk to, they'll have a story about this beer.
Yes.
They all have, like, the first time I had this, it was ... So it's a real kind of like community building beer, because I think I've had this beer 3 or 4 times now. Each time I quite enjoy it. Is it the best beer in the world? No, obviously not. It's a really, really strong beer. It's great. It's always a treat to have. But I love hearing the stories from people, and everyone, whenever they see it, they're like, "Oh, awesome! Let's have this." I mean, it's never no matter how many times you've had it, it's one that you kind of like, I think, always appreciate when you get to try it again.
Yeah.
And it ages beautifully. So I've got, I think, 1 or 2 that I've been storing that aren't that old. They're only like maybe 3 or 4 years old, but I'm letting it set for a while.
For the longest time, I always had 3 or 4. Whenever a web shop, whenever it popped up on a web shop, and we're talking like 2010 to 14.
Yeah.
Whenever it popped up illegally, or I would buy a bottle and just keep them around
Yeah.
for the occasion when someone who wasn't a beer nerd drank beers with me, and they would say, "Oh, you're a really big beer nerd. I have like not a niece, a brother-in-law, and he drank the most rare beer in the world."
Yeah.
And I would always go, "Oh, that's really fun. Do you want to try it now?" And that person would go, What? We can try it? Yeah, sure. Pop. Because when they popped up, they usually clocked in at like 10 to 15 euros.
Yeah, they sold out immediately.
Yeah, so it was a time problem, not a money problem. And I had time to scout these web shops. And that was a lot of fun. I don't know how many
I would love to try a vertical of these, like to try, like say 2 or 3 years in a row. I think that would be, or 3 to 5 years in a row. I think that would be a lot of fun, just to see how it's aged out and matured and changed over time.
I should still have 2010, 2012, and 2016.
I'm hearing a vertical, man.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that would be a lot of fun.
And you have some, so. Those might not be 10, 12, and 16.
No, they're definitely not 10, 12, and 16. I think there might be 19, 20. Something
all of them? They were the same.
I don't know how many I have. I don't know. Maybe I just have one, maybe I have two. I have to go back and look. I don't really remember. It's one of those things where I just take it, I just put it in the cupboard, and I just forget that it exists. So.
But my personal journey with this is, so as I said, first time I gave it 10 out of 10, old rating system. Then I went into the phase where I thought, oh, it's overrated, it's not as good, and I kind of felt like it's not useless, but meh. Then I shrugged off that, and I also shrugged off the rarity of it. So now I'm drinking it as if it was a cheap, readily available beer, and then it's the best quad on the market.
Okay, as a quad, it is hands down probably the best quad on the market.
Yeah,
it is exceptionally good.
It is so good. It's so nice to drink.
Yeah,
I want to have more. I don't want to pay the high price for it anymore, but I want to drink it so bad.
Yeah, I know a guy. He goes to Belgium once a year just to go and buy a crate.
But that's when you get it really price efficiently, and you get a trip to Belgium.
Right, because this is only like 3 or 4 euros per bottle.
Yes, yeah.
It's like when you go to 3F or Cantillon in Brussels, and you're just paying like dirt prices for bottles. They go for like 3 times on the open market. So yeah, well, I mean, I knew this would be a fun episode. I knew we'd have a lot to talk about. So what do you give this today?
I mean, rating-wise, it's a strong 4, but I can't give it a 4.25.
I'm still gonna give it a 4.25.
Yeah.
I think it's, like I was with you the first time I tried it, 5 out of 5. I mean, you just kind of got to respect the beer, so you give it a 5.
Yeah, sure.
And then the second time you try it, you're like, well, maybe it's really like a 3.75 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But sure, it's a weak 4 to 5. It's not. It's.
Like, I mean, I think when you say it's the best Belgian quad on the market, I feel like. I mean, are the Belgian quads just not a good style, or is it just kind of like?
It's a style that. It is a good style. The 4 for me is a good rating because I've had to fill the gap between 4 and 5. I've had to fill with so many different beers that it's kind of pushed down really great beers to a 4, which is a strong, solid rating.
So I think now this is even opening up more. I think it's even better. It's kind of actually creeping up a little bit because I'm getting like maybe a little bit of orange peel in there, and I'm getting more kind of cola flavors. I mean, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of magic happening with these monks and what's happening in this class. So yeah, I feel 4.25 it's really where this beer sits for me.
But now, so when I started drinking beer from the very beginning, Belgian quads would get really high ratings, higher than most other styles. Now they're lucky to get fours. They're all basically between 375 and 4. That's where all of them.
Well, because I think Belgian quad is the rare exception where they almost all taste exactly alike.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference between your best and your worst, if you stick with traditional Belgian quad brewers, not like the whatever offshoot European breweries that are making Belgian quads or Americans are making
or like Swedish. Oh, we're a monastery brewery. Let's make a quad.
Yeah. But if you just go to your traditional basic, Belgian quad or double or triple, I mean, they're all, by and large, they're all expertly made. They've been made for like hundreds of years, and they just taste really, really great and what you would expect of style.
It is opening up. 425.
Yeah. See, I mean, it is. It's opening up, right? I mean, it's just like, wow, there's a couple new flavors here that weren't there a second ago. I'm glad you're coming around to reality and not your narrow-mindedness.
But if it's one Belgian quad that breaks out of the four trap, it has to be Westvleteren.
It does have to be, because it's a really, really solid, amazing beer. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. Until next time.
Keep drinking, you dum-dums.